should be allowed to choose their baby's gender. On my right is the government team from A to B, consisting of Mr. Lolo Zhou as the first speaker, Mr. Herman Tan Lim as the second speaker, Mr. Tae Yong Sheng as the third speaker, and Mr. Yong Chuan as the fourth speaker. And on my left is the opposition team from A to A, consisting of Ms. Anisha Louis-Eun as the first speaker, Mr. Fu Mingtao as the second speaker, Mr. Kang Hongda as the third speaker, and Mr. Goi Kang-jae as the fourth speaker. Now, I would like to introduce our team of adjudicators. Mr. Tina as the chief adjudicator, and the other adjudicators are Mr. Mohan and Ms. Yong-er for today's debate. And Sally Jin will be the chairperson for this debate, and Yong Yi-hun will be the timekeeper. Now, I'm going to introduce the rules of today's debate competition. Firstly, the maximum speaking duration is 5 minutes for each speaker and 4 minutes for reply speech. There is no extra time given. Next, during the rebuttal, members should not bring up any new arguments or new evidence except on direct refutation of material which has already been presented. Then, member will be only speak when called out upon by the speaker. There should not have any heckling. Besides, all speakers should attempt to both deliver at least one POI and to accept one POI during the course of the debate. There is no continuous POIs allowed. It is considered as heckling. Furthermore, the first minute of each constructive speech is considered protected time during which no POI can be made. In addition, no POI and new main point may be made during the reply speech. Moreover, the government team must define the resolution. Their definition must be accepted unless it is undebatable or unreasonable. Lastly, is the time limit of the competition. Time given is 5 minutes. The first bell will ring after the speaker speaks for 1 minute, like this. After 1 minute, member of the opposition team can then raise the POI. After speaker has spoken for 4 minutes, the bell will ring like this. POI can still be made after this. POI's time given is 15 seconds. After the bell rang, the speaker will have to stop. And after the speaker has spoken for 5 minutes, the bell will ring twice, like this. The speaker has to stop. I now call upon the first speaker of the government to present his case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Good morning to my honorable judges, members of the opposition. I will be the first speaker of the government team, and my name is Lolo Zhou. I will start my speech by defining the topic. Parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender. Firstly, allow me to explain what is the definition of gender. Gender is the range of characteristics differentiating between male or female. Depending on the context, these characteristics may include biological sex. Now, let's refer back to our topic. The topic states that parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender. From the statement, parents should be allowed, we are providing an option for families, whereas our opposition banned this policy. Now let me explain my premise. Our first premise is this policy is introduced to save lives. Our second premise is this policy is introduced to make children's lives better. And our third premise is this policy gives freedom of choice. Hence, from the three premises above, we accept the fourth premise, which is this policy is not harmful. The burden of proof is on opposition. Our job is to provide an option for families. In other words, our opposition job is to show us proof that this technology is so harmful that it needs to be banned. So, how can parents choose their baby's gender? Sex selection is the attempt to control the sex of the offspring to achieve a desired sex. There are three types of sex selection: by abortion, through sperm spotting, and before an embryo created through IVF.
POI.
Not at this time, please. what we propose is the IVF method, which is legally accepted in many countries, including Malaysia. It is used mainly for medical reasons and family balancing reasons. So we agree with the topic because of medical reasons, human rights, and family balancing reasons. Now I will step into my first point. Ladies and gentlemen, my first point is parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender by medical reasons, such as preventing the birth of children affected or at risk of gender-linked diseases. For example, cervical cancer and testicular cancer, or for families with a history of a genetic condition such as hemophilia or sickle cell disease, or for couples who already had a child with a genetic disease. Yes, please.
What does cervical cancer have to do with choosing the gender of the baby?
Cervical cancer is for female and the testicular cancer is for male. If the family there's someone with before they have cervical cancer, the risk of having cervical they can choose the gender to male so that to avoid this from happening. Now, according to the website sciencedirect.com, sex selection for medical indication applying PGT or CCS to prevent sex-linked diseases such as hemophilia or Fragile X syndrome is accepted and encouraged in Islam. In fact, most countries allow sex selection for medical reasons, including Malaysia. So, to sum it up, sex selection is the ability to choose a girl or a boy before you get pregnant. It can be used for medical reasons and the risk is minimized. It can help the parents to prevent their baby being born with some genetic disease, leading to more suffering. As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Again, I repeat, we are just providing an option for families. Before I end my speech, I strongly believe that we should allow parents to choose their baby gender. Thank you.
Thank you. The first speaker has spoken for 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Next, first speaker of the opposition team to present her case. Time given is also 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you to the chairperson and the timekeeper. A very good morning to the judges, members on the floor, and of course my opponents. As the first speaker of the opposition team, I will rebut what the government team's first speaker has said, and I will be giving my first point, which is social problems, and my second speaker will be giving his rebuttals and his 2 points, which are health risk and ruining reputation. And my third speaker will be giving his rebuttals and strengthening our points, and the fourth speaker will be giving his reply speech. We, the opposition team, accept the definition that is given by the government team, and I would like to rebut what the first speaker of the government team has said. He has said that by doing sex selection process, it can avoid inheritance disease. But according to our research, they have said that what is diagnosed and checked is not so clear because of the occurrence that happened after the baby was born. So now I will proceed to my first point, which is social problems. By allowing parents to choose their baby's gender, social problems such as human trafficking will occur. In the 1980s, ultrasound technology started to become available for diagnostic purpose in many Asian countries, and the opportunity to use the new technology for sex selection was soon exploited. Forced to have one child in China, Chinese parents often abandoned female babies or had sex selection abortion in favor of males, causing a shortfall in the female population of an estimated 30 to 40 million. The consequences will be these men will be unable to marry. When there is shortage of women in the marriage market, women have the opportunity to marry up, inevitably leaving the least desirable man with no marriage prospect. And these men who are unable to marry are poor or uneducated. According to research in China, 94% of all unmarried people aged 28 to 49 are male, and 97% of them have not completed high school. And because of this shortage of women in the marriage market, it will cause human trafficking. According to an article published in Time in 21st of March 2019, it stated that a 112-page report said that the woman originating... Yes.
You know why the boy is more than the girls? Because it is when they ultrasound their babies and they find it's girl, they will abort it. So it is also cause the social problems. Then this is your first point. Then you mix it together. So thank you.
That is one of the selection, like what your government's first speaker has said. Abortion is one of the types of sex selection. Thank you. The women originating from Myanmar's northern Shan and Kachin states were typically sold for between $3,000 to $13,000. After being lured across the border by the promise of good jobs, many of the victims testified to being treated badly, such as being locked up, raped, and forced to bear the children of their captors. According to Heather Barr, who is also the acting co-director of the Women's Rights Division at Human Rights Watch, she told Time that these are the long-term consequences for Chinese men who want to get married, and the way that's created a market for trafficked women and girls, which is human trafficking, a social problem. And there is also evidence of similar patterns of bride migration and trafficking in Cambodia, North Korea and Vietnam, and more may emerge from other countries bordering China if parents are allowed to choose their baby's gender. Therefore, as the opposition team, we strongly disagree with today's topic, which is parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender. Thank you.
Thank you. The first speaker of the opposition team has spoken for 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Next, second speaker of the government team to present his case. Time given is also 5 minutes. Please begin.
Good morning, my honorable judges and my dear oppositions. I am the second speaker of the government team. I am going to say our second and third point and the rebuttals of the opposition first points. By the opposition first point, they said our gender selection is by abortion, but they are not letting us to use the IVF method to legally accept before the embryo is created. We do not use gender selection by abortion. You are causing the abortion by not letting it. They still can't disprove our premise that it is harmful to anyone or it is bad for our humanity. Our second point is parents have the right to choose their baby gender. According to Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Babies aren't mature enough to make their decisions themselves. In 7 February 2019, BBC News reported that an Indian man sued their parents for giving birth in. Parents can't predict a self-conscious that doesn't yet exist. So parents should allow to choose their baby gender by their preference. Now I'm going on. Yes.
You said the babies are not mature enough to choose their own gender, but what gives the parents the maturity to choose for their baby?
Parents are responsible for raising their babies up, not your morality. And it will make their family happier. Now I'm going into our government third point, that is family balancing. US and Thailand have gender selection legalized not only in medical issues. From American Society for Reproductive Medicine, a professional fertility specialty groups, saying that it is fine either way, you are under no ethical obligation to do it or not to do it. Parents usually have 1, 2, or 3 children of one gender that and want their next child to be of the other sex. It will make their make their family more happier. Families build strong bond between each other if they get their next generation the sex they want. Parents will do more prepared for the child. They will focus and look after for it. Thus, not this time. Such as we can be prepared for the clothing daily uses. Hence, when the child could live in a healthy family, will lead more benefits for the social. Family is the basic of a social. Many crimes were created because of lacking well-educated and family problems, like torturing their child that they don't want their sex to be girl or boy since they were young. Now I end my speech.
Thank you. The second speaker of the government team spoke for 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Next, second speaker of the opposition team to present his case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you to the chairperson and the timekeeper. A very good morning to the honorable judges, the members of the floor, and of course my worthy opponents. I am the second speaker of the opposition team, and I will be rebutting what the first and second speaker of the government team has said, and I will also be giving the second and third point of my team, which is health risks and the ruining of reputation. I will now move into the rebuttal of what the first speaker has said. He said that there are 3 ways of gender selection, that is abortion, IVF, and sperm sorting. But actually, sperm sorting is associated with IVF through a process called PGD. And the second speaker also said that IVF does not harm any person in any way, but in my second point, I will be talking about the harms that it does. Now, the second speaker also said that through gender selection, there will be a happier family. But instead, there has been a study in human behavior and has proven that humans tend to regret what they have a choice in. Now, we naturally do not have a choice in the gender of our baby. Now, once we have made the choice and have chosen for the gender of the baby, if it is not as expected, we will regret it. And if the father and the mother did not agree on the same gender, there will be conflicts and there will be a tear in the family instead of a happier family. And also, the second speaker mentioned torturing the children. That is just illegal and immoral in general, not part of the gender selection issue. And now I will move into the second point of my team, which is health risks. Now that we have established there are only 2 ways of gender selection, and that is via IVF and abortion, I will talk about it from both sides. Now, IVF is not a cheap process to go through. Now, for the people that can afford IVF, although at first IVF seems like the perfect and flawless plan, it does come with health risks that people would not know about without the proper research because of how perfectly IVF is promoted. Now, the health risks I will be talking about, go ahead.
If both parents they decide the same way, then how could it be separate within the family?
You see, as parents, we might want different gender for the baby, but one side might compensate for the other just to avoid the argument. Thank you. And as I said, the health risk I will be talking about is mainly for the mother. Now, there is a common misconception that IVF does not increase the risk for cancer, but in fact, it does. Now, Professor Alastair Sutcliffe from the Institute of Child Health at UCL did a survey seeking the truth about IVF and its risks, and he found that from a sample size of over 250,000 women, he has concluded there is no increase in the risk of uterine and breast cancer, but in fact, there is an increase in ovarian cancer rate. Now, the number of women that has gotten ovarian cancer increased by 36% just because of the IVF process. Now, furthermore, a survey has been done by the Dutch that has shown that IVF doubles the risk for non-lethal ovarian cancer. Now that I have shown that IVF does bring health risks to the mother, I will now talk about the health risks brought by gender-selecting abortion. Now, gender-selecting abortion is the only alternative to IVF if you can't afford it. Now, it commonly causes injury to a woman's cervix and uterus. Now, according to WHO, the World Health Organization, between 2 million to 7 million women survive abortion annually but suffer permanent damage to their internal organs. Now, judges, this might come as a shock, but the number of deaths caused by abortion is actually staggering. At least 22,800 women die annually as a result of complications in abortion. And now, judges, let's think about it. Is this really a good choice to make? Just to provide parents with the choice of their baby's gender, we increase the health risk of the mother by a substantial amount? I highly doubt so. Now I will move into the third point of my theme, which is the ruining of reputation. Now, gender selection is deemed by the public as violating the law of nature and playing God.
POI.
Go ahead.
As our first speaker said, our IVF is used before the embryo is formed. So why is it called abortion? Abortion is after the baby is born, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your first speaker stated that there are 3 ways of gender selection. That includes abortion. And gender selection is deemed by the majority of the public as unacceptable. 64% of the public has voted that parents should not be allowed to choose for the baby's gender, as it violates their religion and their moral in general. Since the public has shown to disagree with gender selection for the baby, doing it will cost you your reputation and your child's reputation, as people will discriminate those who do it and those who are created by it. Just imagine your son or daughter getting bullied and rejected just because of a decision you made as a parent. The selfish decision to choose the gender of your baby will cause your child to suffer daily. And with that, I end my speech. And once again, I strongly oppose to the motion of today, which is parents should be allowed to choose the baby's gender. Thank you.
Thank you. The second speaker of the opposition team has spoken for 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Next, third speaker of the government team to present his case. Time given is also 5 minutes. Please begin.
Good morning, my honorable judges, my respected opponents, and the audience. Our topic for today is parents should be allowed to choose baby gender. We, the government team, strongly believe in our topic. Today, I will summarize the points of the opposition team into 3 main points, which is high risk, social problems, and ruining reputation. The first, I want to do the rebuttal of the social problems. They say we are causing the abortion, but as our first speaker said, we provide IVF because we want to reject abortion. This is not the selection of the future. Okay, we say that the 3 ways to choose gender is abortion, right, and IVF and the sperm. But we didn't say abortion is totally need to use. We can use IVF to reject abortion. So it can decrease the abortion and increase the fertility. And the opposition team also say that it causes social problems. But I want to ask the opposition team, why does it cause the social problems? If the baby is born with the gender naturally, not the sex their parents want, then they will do what? They will torture it or just throw it away, right? That is irresponsibility of the parents. And the second point of the opposition team is the high risk. But why high risk? You born it with a genetic disease, this is also high risk. Your mother pregnant and born you, you're also at risk. But why can't it be the same, right? And the third is ruining reputation. I don't think this can stay lah, because why does it ruin the reputation?
I have stated that 64% of the public actually does not agree because it violates their moral and culture.
So are you moral to risk the child? they are born with the disease. And follow it to the first point of the oppositions, I would like to say they are focused only on China, but according to our research, the Germany has a research. They say that the gender ratio will not that their parents will not have a clear sex preference. So even if with this technology, they will not cause any what boys more and girls less. This will not cause the problems. They are only focused on China. We are based on the whole the world. You are not this time. So, following to the ruining reputation, I want to say, why ruining? For example, I'm a parent and I'm an engineer, and I want my baby as a boy to do my work as me, right? Then why ruin reputation? This is not forcing a stress on him because we born him and we teach them, and they will eventually accept this mind from me. So why did they ruining reputation? Not this time. Now I want to strengthen our first speaker and second speaker points. I think that parents should be allowed to choose baby gender because of medical reasons, human rights, and family balance. And why medical reasons? Because we have to save people. We save them from the genetic disease since they are born at this time. And do you want to see your babies born with disease and is torturing him until he dies, right? And the human rights. Why parents don't have the right to choose their baby gender? The baby is even never exists. So why don't they? And the family balance. If you make the family happy and if you eventually prevent the overall of population, because some of their parents they want, oh, I like one boy, one girl. Then they will not, if it is born naturally, they will want boy, 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 girl. So it will eventually cause the population increase. Okay, thank you. This is the end of my speech.
Thank you. The third speaker of the government team has spoken for 5 minutes and 1 second. Next, third speaker of the opposition team will present his case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you to chairperson and timekeeper. A very good morning to the honorable judges, members of the floor, and my worthy opponent. I'm the third speaker of the opposition team, and I'm going to do some rebuttals and strengthen my team's point. Firstly, the third speaker from the government team mentioned about that if he want a man, what if he want a boy to do an engineer? So this is a problem. Parents' preference for sons is common in countries in East Asia, South Asia, Middle East, and North Africa. Sons are preferred because they have a higher wage coming. They continue the family line, and they take responsibility for care of parents in illness and old age. And just like my second speaker mentioned about the health risk, the woman, they will take hormone in order to stimulate egg growth, but this fertility medication will make them have a disease called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, as known as OHSS. With severe OHSS, women might have rapid weight gain, severe abdominal pain, blood clots, which can lead to